Hey, what's going on? My name's Chris Winter and today I'm here in Stockholm, Sweden, and I thought I would test out the Canon 18-135 STM lens. Now this is a relatively new lens, but it's got some really cool technologies, including that STM motor, which produces some silky smooth autofocus, not only in stills, but video mode. So let's test it out today, see what this lens is all about, and see how good it is. So if you're looking for a lens that pretty much does it all, a lens that works really well for travel, this could be the one for you. Now this 18-135 obviously goes from 18mm on the wide angle all the way through to 135 on the tele end. So what I'm going to do right now is demonstrate a few of these different focal lengths for you so you can get an idea of how they look. So I'm currently using a Canon T3i, which is a pretty popular camera for the Rebel series. So as you can see, this is at 18mm and it's a relatively wide angle, really good for taking some street photography. We'll now go to 50mm and then all the way to 135. And as you can see, you really can zoom in quite a lot with this lens, which means that it's going to be a really good general purpose lens. Now you might lose you might lose a little bit of image quality when you get to the longer focal lengths compared to a higher priced lens, but it really is a nice thing to have all those different focal lengths in just one lens. So one of my favorite features of the Canon 18-135 STM lens is actually its build quality. It's really nice. Now if you're coming from something like the 18-55 kit lens, which comes with a lot of the Rebel series cameras, you're definitely going to notice an increase of size and increase of weight. But if you're coming from something like the Canon 24-70L lens, you're definitely going to notice that this is a little bit lighter and a little bit nice to hold, especially if you're traveling. Now if we take it off here, you can see at the bottom of the lens there is a metal mount, which is a really nice feature because it does help keep the longevity of this lens up. If we come around to the front, you can see that there's a very, very nice smooth focus ring, and Canon have done a very good job with this. It looks very similar to the Canon 24mm STM lens, which I reviewed a few weeks ago. It is very smooth, but it is that focus by wire system, so it can be a little bit difficult to manually focus because there's not a lot of friction on the actual focus ring right here. Other than that, there's an autofocus manual focus switch, a image stabilization switch, and a cool little feature right here, a lock switch. So if you're holding your camera down and it goes down like this, it can actually fold down on these longer lenses. So if you click this switch right here to lock, when you're holding it down like that, it's not going to be moving anywhere, which is a nice little touch from Canon and something that I like. So one of my favorite features of any lens is to have image stabilization built in. It just makes a huge difference, especially if you're doing video work. Now this lens has a really good image stabilization system built in. What I'm going to do right now is show you a little bit of the difference of having it on and having it off. Now when you're at the wide angle, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. I'll show you right here. This is with image stabilization off and then with it on. And it is a really, really steady shot. Now we're going to go to the tele end, and this is where it really makes a big difference. So I'm going to go all the way to 135mm, and as you can see, I'm having a relatively hard time of keeping it still, even though I've got pretty steady hands. What I'm going to do right now is turn the stabilization on, and it is pretty much dead still, and it just seems like it's on a tripod. So even at 135mm, which is on a crop factor even a longer focal length, this image stabilization works fantastically. So over the last few weeks, I've been lucky enough to have reviewed some really nice lenses which produce some really nice bokeh. I reviewed the Canon 50mm f1.8 and the Canon 24mm f2.8, which both easily produce some nice out of focus area behind your subject. Now with this lens, it's a little bit more difficult. You really need to be on the tele end to get any sort of bokeh, and it's not always the nicest bokeh. So what I'm going to do right now is take a shot of some berries right here, and I'll show you just how it turns out. So you really do need to be a little bit away from your subject and shooting at the very tele end. And as you can see, there's quite a lot going on in the background, and that's one of the reasons why I don't particularly like this lens for bokeh. But one tip is to actually move just a little bit and then try and get something different in the background. And when you've got a little bit less in the shot behind the subject, it can actually be a little bit more pleasing. But if you're looking for a real bokeh-licious lens, this isn't the one for you. So I've had this lens for around about 6 months now, and I've got to say I'm really happy with how it's turned out. Now, if you want a good travel lens, this is definitely one to look at because it just has that really good option of being able to shoot really, really wide, say if you want to get some nice architectural shots, or that option of shooting at say 50 millimeters if you want to get a little bit more of a portrait shot, or if you want to get an object that's really far away, the 135 millimeters on this crop factor camera really does work quite well. Now this is definitely not a lens that I'm going to take out if I'm going to do a professional shoot, or if I want to get a really nice portrait of someone, I'm going to be using a nice prime lens. But for pretty much everything else, if you want a general day-to-day lens, this is definitely one to look at. Now, it wouldn't have been right of me to not mention the video capabilities of this Canon 18-135 STM lens because it does have that awesome STM motor. Now, right now I've actually changed over to my Canon 70D. I've got the 18-135 locked in on that. I did this because that Canon 70D has that awesome dual pixel autofocus system, and it really does pair up really, really nicely. So right now, I've got it set on face tracking mode, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a test, and we'll just see how well it can keep me in focus. So I'm on face tracking mode, and you can see that I'm the only one here. Actually, I don't have another cameraman with me right now, and it's able to keep my face in focus. I'll just show you quickly right here that you can see that my face is in focus and able to stay locked on really quite well. But what I'm going to do right now is change over to a little bit more of a tele length, and we'll see just how well the Canon 18-135 can keep up with my face then. Right now we're at 85 millimeters, and hopefully the 18-135 is still keeping me in focus. Now, paired up with the Canon 70D, these STM lenses just work so well. I tested it before with the Canon 24mm and that was flawless. And I've actually got to say that the 18-135 is even better than the Canon 24mm for autofocus. So if you're looking for a general purpose video lens, this is definitely one to look at. So I've put the Canon 18-135 back on my Canon T3i, and it's around about 2 p.m. here in Sweden, which means that the sun is going down, especially here in wintertime. So I thought I would test out the autofocus performance for stills, and we'll see just how well this performs. So what I'll do is just focus on a few things around me, and we'll see and listen for that confirmation beep and see just how quick it is. So at 18 millimeters, it's having absolutely no trouble, and it's very quick. So there you go guys, that was my review on the Canon 18-135. Now if you got this far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a thumbs up because it means a lot to me. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. See ya.